James Cameron. He uses that fluid Steadicam corridor shot across his films like A Calling Card, Terminator, Aliens, The Abyss, Avatar. It's all there. The camera glides like it knows the story better than anyone on set. He builds tension with clever cuts, like showing danger in parts instead of full-on gore, making your brain do the dirty work. His angles sneak in meaning too, framing characters from different heights to whisper things about power and class. It's smart without showing off. And he's obsessed with tech, from virtual cameras to custom rigs that let him float through digital and real spaces like some hyper-focused ghost. Each movie sharpens his style, blending precision with chaos to pull you into the world without ever letting you go. Tim Burton. He leans hard into Dutch angles, tilting the camera like the world sliding off balance, perfect for characters who never quite fit. That slant shows up all over, from Edward Scissorhands to Ed Wood and Sleepy Hollow, bending space to match the unease in his stories. His sets, deliberately warped and crooked, pulled straight from German expressionist nightmares, all twisted walls and exaggerated shadows. Lighting hits extremes too, pitch blacks clashing with shocking pops of color, giving his frames a haunted storybook feel. Even in stop motion, like in The Nightmare Before Christmas and Corpse Bride, the frames are packed with detail and mood. It's carefully staged chaos. He builds whole worlds that tilt, twist, and breathe with personality. By the way, if you guys like movie content like this, I would really appreciate it if you could subscribe. Thanks. Anyways, Greta Gerwig. She sticks to medium and wide shots that feel like someone's favorite memory. Not flashy, just full of quiet control. In Lady Bird, she avoids handheld chaos and instead glides gently with dolly shots, letting actors breathe inside soft, vintage-style frames built with Panavision lenses. The grain's there on purpose, just enough to hint at nostalgia without drowning in it. Barbie goes the other way, perfectly fake, hyper-stylized, and proud of it. Working with Rodrigo Prieto, she used a custom digital palette to saturate Barbie Land with engineered Technicolor pinks and mid-century flair, grounding it in glossy unreality. Her mirror shots, especially in Lady Bird, are carefully composed to reflect relationships and emotion, not just faces. Every frame says something, but never yells it. Michael Bay. His signature move is that spinning 360-degree tracking shot where the camera circles characters like it's orbiting a planet, first burned into film history in Bad Boys, then repeated in The Rock, Pearl Harbor, and Transformers. It ramps up tension without needing a single word, but he doesn't stop there. His whole visual style, lovingly nicknamed Bayhem, is built on motion, stacked on motion. Cameras zoom, dolly, pan, and whip all at once while objects cut across the foreground and actors shift mid-shot to keep everything alive. Even simple scenes refuse to sit still. Action sequences explode with layered movement that feels almost choreographed. He builds momentum inside the frame itself, making every shot feel like it's 1 second away from going full throttle, even when it's quiet. Guillermo del Toro. His frames drip with texture, amber light, gothic set design, and enough visual detail to make stills look like oil paintings. In Pan's Labyrinth, he uses shadows like brushstrokes, letting light peek through in soft bursts, while practical creature effects keep the monsters grounded and believable. The shot design leans into symmetry and movement with a painter's restraint, even in the most surreal moments. In Nightmare Alley, a crane glides down a hill under digitally tweaked skies to open the film with moody precision, and every location, whether it's Crimson Peak's rotting mansion or an Art Deco carnival office, is packed with handcrafted detail. His images often whisper with insect motifs, religious symbols, and precise costume cues that say more than dialogue. Every shot tells the story first. David Lynch. He turns normal scenes into waking dreams by pushing the familiar just far enough to feel wrong. His use of deep focus shots, like the red curtains in Blue Velvet, creates a mood where small-town charm dissolves into something darker. He lingers in long takes, not for tension, but to let the frame breathe until it starts to feel surreal. Flashbacks and nightmares blend right into reality through slow dissolves, giving everything a floaty, unstable rhythm. Even back in Six Men Getting Sick, he looped grotesque imagery until it became hypnotic, setting the tone for how he'd build unease through repetition. He likes tight framing that traps characters, mixing harsh shadows and eerie quiet. It's clean, slow, and deeply weird, and it never explains itself. Ridley Scott. His frames are soaked in atmosphere, fog, smoke, and light beams slicing through space like the air itself matters. He builds entire worlds with texture-heavy design, from the grime of Alien to the rain-soaked neon of Blade Runner. He usually shoots with 3 cameras rolling at once, grabbing different angles without cutting performance energy, which makes everything feel fluid and grounded. He blends painterly composition with raw realism, often drawing from natural light and chiaroscuro to shape his environments. In The Martian, helmet cam shots drop you right into the suit, while in Prometheus, even 3D tech bowed to his moody style. Color grading was tailored just to keep the shadows deep and the tone intact. Whether it's ancient Rome or deep space, he shoots it like it's real. Robert Eggers. He shoots like a museum curator with a dark streak. Everything is researched, aged, and lit like it was dug up from the past. In The Witch, characters feel dwarfed by towering woods thanks to the 1.66 to 1 aspect ratio and natural candlelight that makes the 1600s feel eerily present. The lighthouse goes even tighter, 1.19 to 1 black and white shot on vintage lenses to trap characters in a boxy nightmare that looks like haunted maritime photography. He skips conventional shot reverse setups, rehearses his cast intensely, and nails scenes in just a few long takes, giving everything a stage-like precision. Even in Nosferatu, his team used high-contrast 35mm and desaturated color to preserve gothic detail without leaning on modern gloss. He frames history with dread. Francis Ford Coppola. His signature dolly shots are slow and weighty, literally loaded with over 900 pounds of sandbags to create a creeping forward movement that builds tension with every inch. In The Godfather, he uses this to turn a simple push-in into a feeling of looming fate. His close-ups of Marlon Brando are drenched in shadow, hiding features to amplify mystery and menace, turning Vito Corleone into a figure of mythic opacity. In The Conversation, Coppola lets scenes unfold in real time with long, sustained shots that mimic voyeurism, keeping the viewer in the role of an observer rather than a participant. He also favors slow zooms during emotional reveals, closing in on faces to gradually intensify psychological depth without needing to cut. It's quiet, deliberate filmmaking that speaks volumes. Zack Snyder. His signature shot lives in slow motion, more specifically speed ramping, where time stretches and snaps back mid-shot, usually during fights. In 300, the camera glides with Leonidas through every slash and spear like it's painting violence in brushstrokes. That shift in speed highlights every hit like a visual drumbeat. His color grading is just as intentional, muted palettes soaked in sepia or high-contrast blue and orange tones, giving every frame that mythic graphic novel edge. Lighting plays it dramatic, sculpting faces and bodies in bold shadow. He plans it all out in advance. His storyboards often match comic panels beat for beat, especially in Watchmen, where each frame mirrors its printed twin. It's stylized, graphic, and unmistakably his. Orson Welles. He built his legacy on technical ambition, and nowhere is that clearer than the opening shot of Touch of Evil. A single take lasting over 3 minutes, tracking a car and a hidden bomb across a border town. The timing, movement, and crowd choreography were pulled off without a Steadicam, relying entirely on old-school precision and vision. But Welles wasn't just about movement. He reshaped visual storytelling with deep focus in Citizen Kane, where foreground and background both stay razor sharp. That let him stack meaning in a single frame, with characters acting on different planes without cutting. These techniques let scenes unfold like theater, but feel cinematic, giving him control over space and time inside the frame. Every shot meant something, and everything was in focus. Ryan Coogler. His latest signature comes from shooting Sinners using both Ultra Panavision 70 and IMAX 70mm, a first for any director, and a format combo that locks every frame into a massive 2.76 to 1 aspect ratio. The result, wide, deep compositions that feel theatrical and grounded all at once. Though he originally aimed for 16mm, he shifted course after studio input and tech consults, opting instead for scale and immersion that only large format film could deliver. With cinematographer Autumn Durald Arkapaw behind the lens, making history as the first woman to shoot on true IMAX film, they locked in a visual style that makes every setting feel epic yet textured. This approach mirrors the 1930s Jim Crow South with clarity and weight, anchoring myth to physical space. Akira Kurosawa. He reshaped cinematic language with axial cuts, jumping the camera closer or farther in clean edits instead of tracking, like in Sanshiro Sugata Part 2, where each bow slices closer, sharpening the emotional beat. He made weather part of the cast, rain in Seven Samurai, fog and wind in Ran, using natural elements to heighten tension and turn landscapes into emotional amplifiers. He also shot with multiple cameras at once, sometimes 9 or more, capturing complex actions like High and Low's Money Drop without needing actors to repeat exact beats. Instead of tracking shots, he often let movement come to the camera, action entered static frames, keeping compositions balanced even during chaos. Every frame was a decision, every element served story. Rian Johnson. He builds tension by starting scenes a beat early, like in Brick, where a punch hovers for 5 seconds before landing, letting silence and stillness stretch the suspense. He frames characters wide and distant, as in Looper, where Joe confronts his older self in a stark field, shot from afar to emphasize emotional detachment. His shots often unfold with panning reveals, where the camera slowly turns to introduce crucial information mid-scene instead of cutting, folding 2 beats into 1. That old-school technique gets a modern twist under his direction, layering surprise with elegance. Each long take is precisely timed, never rushed, and his compositions hold tension without leaning on flashy movement. It's clean, deliberate filmmaking built on subtle manipulation. James Gunn. He mixes spectacle with intimacy by using stabilized handheld rigs, even for Superman's balanced flight, shooting with custom Pico and nano cameras to keep emotional beats grounded mid-air. That choice leans more toward Top Gun Maverick than the usual wire-heavy superhero tricks. In The Suicide Squad, he scaled up coverage by running 3 or 4 cameras at once, giving editors flexibility to cut between chaos and comedy without missing a beat. His sets are massive and practical, like full beaches and multi-ton prison builds, anchoring digital effects in real-world grit. From Guardians to Squad, his work pops with irreverent tone shifts, graphic violence 1 minute, heartfelt dialogue the next, while balancing ensemble staging so every character lands. His frames feel alive, weird, and always intentional. Kathryn Bigelow. She pulls the viewer into the frame with handheld intensity, often running multiple cameras like 4 Super 16mm rigs in the Hurt Locker to capture overlapping action in real time. That setup lets her show both chaos and control, mimicking how the eye darts between foreground and context under stress. Starting with Point Break, she leaned on Steadicam tracking shots to glide through action without losing physicality. Her aesthetic lives in grit. Zero Dark 30 and Detroit both carry a documentary feel where the camera's close but not flashy, raw but not chaotic. She also slips in visual interludes, quick cuts to objects, dust, smoke, sometimes in slow motion, giving space to reflect without pausing, narrative momentum. Her style feels lived in, reactive, and urgent. The Coen Brothers. Their style is surgically composed. Dialogue scenes often isolate the speaker in clean single shots with no over-the-shoulder clutter, letting the editor control rhythm and giving each line space. Early work with Barry Sonnenfeld leaned on stark noir lighting, while later films with Roger Deakins shifted toward naturalism without losing visual precision. They opened many stories with slow, wide establishing shots, dusty plains in No Country for Old Men, endless snow in Fargo, to set tone without words. A recurring shot focuses low on walking feet, quietly signaling shifts in mood or momentum. Even color reflects tone. Raising Arizona bursts with saturated hues, while The Man Who Wasn't There stays drained and cold. Every frame fits their sharp, genre-blending logic. Darren Aronofsky. His visual style spins around hip-hop montages, rapid-fire edits that externalize obsession, like in Requiem for a Dream, which packs over 2,000 cuts into its runtime. He pairs that with Snoricam shots, strapping the camera to actors so their world shifts while they stay dead center, trapping the viewer in their headspace. His split screens and extreme close-ups keep emotions front and center, while handheld verite-style camera work in films like Black Swan adds intimacy without polish. In The Fountain, he skipped CGI for microphotography and practical effects, grounding cosmic visuals in real texture. He often centers characters in wide, flat frames and lets them move laterally, creating emotional friction through blocking alone. Everything's calculated, but it never feels safe. Brian De Palma. His signature move is the split diopter shot, where foreground and background stay sharp at once, used in Blowout and Carrie to trap characters in shared space without physical closeness, heightening tension through visual contradiction. He's also known for split-screen sequences like in Sisters, where 2 events unfold side by side in real time, adding layers of perspective and psychological weight. His long tracking shots, often slow and meticulously choreographed, stretch suspense by drawing out anticipation, like the famous staircase scene in The Untouchables. Camera movement is theatrical, full of sweeping pans and voyeuristic framing, often echoing Hitchcock's influence with canted angles and tight observational shots. It's all structured and stylized, but still unnerving. Matt Reeves. His visual style dives deep into neo-noir, thick textures, rain-slick streets, and darkness that never fully swallows detail. In The Batman, he worked with Greg Fraser to keep every scene soaked in gloom, literally wetting the streets to make Gotham feel permanently stained. They called it dark but light, balancing deep shadows with precise lighting cues so nothing gets lost in the black. Reeves shot on 35mm with anamorphic lenses, holding on to grain and depth that digital smoothness would have erased. His camera often sits low and still, using close-ups that lock you into Batman's obsessive stare. The Batmobile chases pure tension, shot with low-mounted cameras fixed to the cars, echoing the French Connection to pull viewers into the chase physically. Every frame feels methodical and worn. Peter Jackson. His signature style thrives on scale and detail, pairing sweeping wide shots with deep production design to fully immerse audiences in fictional or historical worlds. In the Lord of the Rings trilogy, he filmed with RAW 35mm cameras and ultra-prime lenses on Kodak 5-279 stock, capturing New Zealand's landscapes with mythic intent. Even intimate scenes were covered from multiple angles with many takes, giving editors options to shape performance and rhythm. He relied heavily on Previs to balance scenic composition with practical constraints. His world-building blends CGI, miniatures, and grounded sets, seen not just in Middle-earth, but in King Kong and heavenly creatures. Every element, from framing to texture, is crafted to feel vast but tactile. Ron Howard. His style is built on adaptability, not signature visuals, visuals, he shifts techniques based on what each story demands. In films like Apollo 13, A Beautiful Mind, and Frost/Nixon, his direction avoids flash and instead leans on clean, precise cinematography that supports character and emotion without distraction. He uses lighting, lensing, and framing like invisible tools, shaping tone subtly while keeping the focus on narrative clarity. Howard often works across genres, refusing to be pinned down stylistically. His goal is emotional coherence, not visual showmanship. He describes camera choices as extensions of the characters themselves, tailoring every shot to serve mood and meaning. Nothing draws attention to itself, and that's entirely by design. Gareth Edwards. His signature style fuses indie minimalism with blockbuster scale, shooting big stories like The Creator and Rogue One with the intimacy of guerrilla filmmaking. He often operates the camera himself, favoring prosumer gear like the Sony FX3 paired with vintage anamorphic lenses, using mostly practical or LED lighting to keep setups lean. In The Creator, he filmed on real-world locations with minimal crew and rolled extended takes to capture spontaneous, documentary-like energy. Even in Monsters, made for under $500,000, he wrote, shot, edited, and rendered effects solo. No conventional coverage, no big team, just raw vision. His visuals come alive in post, layering VFX over grounded footage. It's agile, immersive, and entirely hands-on. Sam Raimi. His visual style is pure motion, built around wild, high-energy shots like the Raimi cam, where the camera bolts through spaces strapped to boards or rigs, creating a frenzied, monster-like point of view that started in The Evil Dead. He uses Dutch angles constantly, tilting frames to push scenes into uncanny territory, especially during horror or supernatural moments. Raimi also incorporates comic book-style transitions, image wipes, zoom smash cuts, and fast-motion shots that mimic graphic panels in motion, giving even quiet scenes a pulpy charge. In Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, that same energy shows up in distorted close-ups, spinning frames, and visual flourishes that blend horror with camp. It's chaotic, theatrical, and unmistakably Raimi. Clint Eastwood. His directing style is all about simplicity and speed. He often shoots just 1 or 2 takes per setup, valuing instinctual performances over polish. His visuals stay clean and grounded, with natural lighting and flat compositions that avoid flair in favor of emotional directness. Close-ups are tight but unadorned, letting actors carry scenes without cinematic distraction. He regularly uses Steadicam to give scenes a quiet fluidity, allowing actors to move naturally through spaces while the camera adapts in real time. On films like J. Edgar and Gran Torino, he worked closely with cinematographers like Tom Stern and Bruce Surtees, who shaped his trademark dusky, shadowed look. It's all built for clarity, rhythm, and story. No flash, just control. If you enjoyed this, I post movie content a lot here. I would greatly appreciate it if you could subscribe. Thanks for watching, and see you next time